Climate change is forcing millions of people across the world to leave their homes and their livelihoods. It is fast becoming one of the main causes of forced migration, and the situation is likely to get much worse without urgent action. The UN Secretary-General has said climate change is now found to be the key factor accelerating all other drivers of forced displacement. So, Ella, given the urgency of this, what needs to be done?
Well, we need to make sure that the kinds of climate impacts which are driving people to either leave their homes within and move within their countries or to move internationally are addressed. And I mean, the primary thing that we need to do is make sure that this doesn't get any worse. And that means tackling climate change by reducing our emissions.
Anna, whose responsibility is it? Is it the responsibility of richer nations to help those who are most vulnerable?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the key kind of principle to lay down is we all want to treat others how we expect to be treated. Everyone who experiences the loss of livelihood, everyone who experiences the loss of safety deserves, sanctuary if they're seeking sanctuary, and safety if they're seeking alternative livelihood. So, the countries that are experiencing the worst impact in terms of climate change, that are actually losing land, farmland, other resources, are the countries that have done the least to cause the global heating that we're experiencing. And the UK and other rich countries have the resources to fund the adaptation, have the resources to fund the sort of loss and damage that these countries have been requesting. So that's what we need to do. We've got the resources to do it, and the UK, particularly as it still holds the COP presidency, should use this moment really, and its international influence and its resources, to finance adaptation and loss and damage.
And Ella, it's not just an issue for poorer nations, is it? If you look at what's happening in Canada right now, you look to the US during hurricane season, the Australia wildfires, what we saw in Europe over the summer, those extreme weather events causing internal displacement. Is it surprising then that there isn't more urgency about this, more urgent action being taken?
When we put it like that, maybe it's surprising, but the fact of the matter is that if it doesn't affect us directly, or we don't think it affects us directly, we're more likely to ignore it and pretend it's not an issue. The thing is, it's going to affect all of us. It already affects all of us. Climate impacts are being felt here in the UK, they're being felt in Canada, they're being felt in the USA, they're being felt in the developing and developed world. And the fact is, it's going to get worse, especially if we do the little we're doing already to adapt and to mitigate climate change. The more warming we see in the future, the more devastating these impacts are going to become. And we absolutely have to do everything that we can to make sure that the worst impacts of climate change are avoided.
And what about those climate finance and adaptation pledges made at COP26 then, Anna? Are they going to make any difference?
Of course, every step makes a difference. And I think the acknowledgement that the issues of adaptation, loss and damage, just transition have had at COP26 are steps forward. But, so far, mostly it's words. So far, we have not seen anywhere near the amount of financing that the most affected countries are actually requesting. And the other thing is, one of the things that, I was in the Global Trade Union delegation at COP26, and one of the things that we were really calling for is that climate finance, that money that rich countries put in to help poorer countries adapt or mitigate climate change, that those funds must be genuinely fit for purpose, that they must have safeguards to protect human rights, including indigenous rights, including women's rights, including labour rights. And that's not something that we've seen yet. So there's a lot of work still to be done in terms of the international negotiations, and even more work to be done in terms of securing the right amount of resource.